Today, I'll examine how businesses and nonprofits audit global supply chains to promote responsible, compliant operations. The focus is not only on individual suppliers, but on the complex networks connecting organizations, manufacturers, contractors, and other partners across countries. The central challenge is ensuring that codes of conduct, ethical standards, and regulatory requirements are consistently understood, monitored, and enforced throughout that network. We'll consider the business environment behind these efforts and the concepts that help organizations identify risks, evaluate performance, and strengthen accountability. Supply chains today extend across dozens of countries, thousands of suppliers, and millions of workers. That scale creates visibility challenges, making rigorous auditing essential to responsible operations. Without it, organizations may overlook labor violations, including child labor, forced labor, or unsafe conditions. They may also contribute to environmental harm, such as pollution, deforestation, and excess emissions. Beyond those direct impacts, failures can trigger public backlash, erode consumer trust, and create legal exposure through fines, sanctions, or import bans. Auditing helps organizations identify these risks before they become larger, costlier problems. Audits measure supplier performance against established benchmarks, helping organizations assess whether expectations are being met consistently. For widely recognized frameworks address different dimensions of responsible business. SA 8000 focuses on social accountability, including labor rights, child labor, and health and safety. ISO 14001 provides a framework for environmental management and reducing ecological impact. The UN Global Compact outlines 10 principles spanning human rights, labor, the environment, and anti-corruption. Finally, the OECD guidelines establish standards for responsible business conduct by multinational enterprises operating worldwide. Together, these frameworks create a structured basis for evaluating supplier practices. First-party audits are the most direct form of supply chain oversight because the organization evaluates its own operations or works with suppliers directly. The key advantage is first-hand visibility. First, supplier questionnaires create a consistent way to gather information about labor practices, environmental policies, and safety protocols. Internal site visits then test those claims by reviewing records, interviewing workers, and observing conditions. Finally, performance scorecards track indicators such as defect rates, incident reports, and certification status over time, helping identify potential noncompliance before it becomes a larger issue. Second-party audits shift oversight from the supplier to the buying company. Instead of relying only on a self-assessment, the buyer directly evaluates its suppliers or requires them to review their own sub-suppliers. The key advantage is direct accountability, which can extend across multiple tiers of the supply chain. However, there is an important limitation. If suppliers expect an inspection, they may temporarily mask problems. Major retailers, including Walmart and Apple, use extensive second-party audits across their global supplier networks, making this a significant tool for supply chain oversight. Third-party audits provide independent verification, making them a gold standard for supply chain compliance. These reviews may be scheduled or unannounced, and auditors should have no conflict of interest. Certification bodies, including Bureau Veritas, SGS, and Intertek, evaluate suppliers against standards such as ISO and South Australia 8000. NGOs, such as the Fair Labor Association, add another perspective through independent monitoring and confidential worker interviews. Government agencies reinforce the process by enforcing legal requirements, including efforts like the U.S. Department of Labor's Supply Chain Initiative addressing forced labor. A rigorous audit follows a clear life cycle, with each stage supporting the next. We begin by defining the scope, setting the standards, and notifying suppliers. Then we review policies, certifications, and payroll records before conducting an on-site inspection, including a facility walkthrough and worker interviews. Findings are documented in a report with a corrective action plan. Finally, we re-audit to verify that those actions were completed effectively. Skipping any stage can undermine the integrity of the entire process. Technology is expanding what an audit can see, and how quickly it can respond. Satellite and remote sensing tools monitor deforestation, land use, and environmental violations at supplier sites in real time. Blockchain traceability creates a record of materials from their raw source through the finished product, making falsification extremely difficult. And worker voice platforms give employees an anonymous way to report violations directly without going through management gatekeepers. Together, these tools improve audit speed, accuracy, and coverage across complex supplier networks. Nonprofit organizations play a critical and often underappreciated role in supply chain accountability. They do more than observe. They monitor business practices, establish standards, and advocate for greater transparency. Their influence comes from combining these roles. The Fair Labor Association accredits company compliance programs and conducts independent factory audits. The Forest Stewardship Council certifies responsible forestry practices. Rainforest Alliance audits agricultural suppliers against environmental and social standards, while the Business and Human Rights Resource Center tracks corporate conduct and publishes transparency reports. Together, these organizations help turn responsible sourcing expectations into visible, measurable practices. Supply chain audits can reveal important problems, but they also have meaningful limitations. Audit fatigue is a major concern. When suppliers face overlapping inspections, they may spend more time managing audits than improving compliance. There's also a risk of coaching or falsification, with workers prepared to answer strategically or records maintained for appearances. Visibility often stops at Tier 1, while serious labor and environmental issues may exist deeper in the network. Finally, smaller businesses and nonprofits may lack the resources for frequent, comprehensive audits, leaving important gaps in coverage. The key takeaway is that effective auditing combines first dash, second dash, and third-party methods, guided by benchmarks such as South Australia 8000, ISO 14001, and the UN Global Compact. Technology expands reach and reliability, while nonprofits provide independent oversight. Continuous improvement and deeper supply chain visibility remain essential